Hey there everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Apologies for any change in my voice, I'm currently getting over a cold. Now, on with the video. Okay, so I know Matt Smith's era has quite a lot of divide and controversy, especially Series 6, with some even writing it off as flat out bad. But as a series, I think it holds some of the strongest episodes of arguably the most underrated era of the modern show. A really strong individual episode being The Girl Who Waited. The Doctor fails to save Amy and she is stranded in quarantine on an alien planet by herself for almost 40 years, which is a really good concept. It shows the companions and reminds the audience that the Doctor is flawed. He doesn't always get it right. While from the Doctor's perspective, he has to come face to face, albeit through a camera, with the mistake that he made. And you can see this so clearly through Matt Smith's acting. He sees that he let someone in his care down in a big way. The romantic pain and sense of loss can be presented through Rory, and the weird thing is, despite Amy playing two characters and being the one to serve as the plot device, Rory feels more like the lead protagonist than anyone. I would argue this is his centric episode more so than any other time in the series. Rory's strong humanity and sense of loyalty to Amy is what pushes the plot forward. In a way, you could argue that this whole episode is a character study for Rory and shows just how much stronger he has become travelling with the Doctor. Keeping Amy safe has always been his main motivation for travelling with the Doctor. Seeing the older, broken Amy does a good job of challenging everything he has done and seen up until this point in the series. Speaking of Amy, this older version was executed and acted so well. Her first line of dialogue is muffled through a mask, and she doesn't even seem human.
I waited.
Sorry, what?
I waited for you.
It's only when she realises it's Rory and removes the helmet that we hear her normal voice and see that she is aged significantly. I think this alternate version of Amy could only work from this point in the era onwards. All three of the characters needed a strong sense of established trust and history together for a character like this to work. The audience needed to see Amy and Rory's fixated romance across the series. Rory needed to be an established companion and to have travelled a bit first as well, only because of the heavy emotional ties this Amy represents. Her faith in the Doctor coming and rescuing her needed to be tested, as did Rory's devout loyalty to his wife, no matter what form she manifested. In terms of the general plotting, I think the separate timeline motifs worked really well and were believable, as was the paradox which both Amy's created by coexisting together. My personal love for the episode comes from the 11th Doctor's characterization. I love seeing darker versions of the Doctor, and I would argue this episode highlights the 11th Doctor's darkness more than any other. Unlike 9 or 12, his darker edge isn't always surface level, but a more maniacal, manipulative side is definitely present here. He knew there could never be two versions of Amy in one timeline. The paradox would be way too massive, but he lies to Rory anyway and forces him to make that choice. On the one hand, it shows just how invested he is in his best friend, but on the other hand shows he isn't quite the joyous man-child his incarnation likes to play up. This episode manages to achieve so much with so little. It essentially has three characters interacting in one confined area. I think it's the fact it serves as a bottle episode is what makes it so amazing. No, this episode isn't a big intense sci-fi adventure through space. It's one massive character study and highlights the more vulnerable sides to these characters. Rory's love, Amy's faith, and the Doctor's morality are all tested in a single episode, and it works so well. I would definitely recommend giving this episode a watch if you haven't already, or giving it a rewatch if you haven't seen it in a while. I would love to hear your thoughts in comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, then could you please hit that like button and subscribe? It helps with the YouTube algorithm and will give my channel the chance to grow. Please stay close as I try to post content every single week.